Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to session 2 on Ukraine today. Now we have all four of our students joining us this afternoon. For those of you who are joining us remotely, we did send out an email with the agenda that we're covering today. But just briefly, we're going to touch briefly on the negotiations in Alaska, the future of Ukraine in our afternoon session, personal stories, how will the outcome of this summit affect and the war affect me, and more emphasis on Lviv and Catholic University in Lviv. So with that, we'll go ahead and get underway, and I believe we're going to begin with the video, Bob. Put this back on my ear and put this
Hi. Okay, cool. Can the girls hear me? Can they hear me? They can hear me. Okay. I don't know. We can't see you right now because we're going to play this little video. One of you mentioned Mars Field in the in the morning session. One of you mentioned Mars Field, and talking about losses in how these losses have affected you, and it reminded me of this video in Sophia Yakamets that I met. She was a student of mine, and she came up to me. It's a little 3-minute video, and it will show you Mars Field. It will show you what Mars Field is, and I think showing you Mars Field is a good way to start the afternoon because Mars Field shows you what's on the line with these negotiations, what's on the line with finishing this war, and what has happened. Mars Field is where they bury Ukrainian soldiers in Lviv. And I wasn't aware of Mars Field. I didn't know about Mars Field. And I had a student come up to me. This was last year, a year ago. And she came up to me the day after All Saints Day, and she says, Mr. Wood, she says, I need to take you to Mars Field. And I said, okay, let's go to Mars Field. It's time for me to go. And I went out there thinking, I've been to Arlington 100 times. And I've seen Arlington, and I've seen how clean the grass is, and how perfect the stones are, and how everything is linear. And you go to Arlington and you say, whoa, you're in a place that's really, really solemn, but this is how I have grown up with the resting place, final resting place for soldiers. And I went to Mars Field, and it took my breath away. It looked like a Civil War battlefield in session with flags, with shrines, with mothers sitting and weeping at their sons' gravesite, with daughters, with sons, with husbands, this thing was something that I have never in my life seen. I've been back with Sophia Yakamets 3 times. And this is symbolic of what is on the line with these negotiations and going further in Ukraine. So this is a little video I made, just a minute and 57 seconds. And Sophia Yakamets is the gal who is going to talk. And we're at Mars Field, which is on it's not far from the center of Lviv.
Hello, my name is Sophia Yakamets. We are now in Lviv, in the Mars Field, where all of the Ukrainian soldiers that were born in Lviv are buried. And here is one of them. Today was his funeral. He died 5 days ago. It is a godfather of my friend, and I was speaking with her today, and she didn't have nothing to say, and she was speaking with him like at the beginning of December, and they were talking and preparing for the Christmas, for the holidays, and now all of her life just ended there. All of the things happening really fast, and when I'm here, when I'm looking at all of them, I'm really afraid to see my uncle here someday, my father, my brother, and my friends, my relatives that are fighting right now. So they're just saying that it looks like a dead end, and I'm really afraid what will happen next. But I still have hope, so you have so many of them. People are dying. People are dying.
So that's Marshfield. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every day. So with that, Olha is with us. She can introduce herself and talk about the Friday event. And Anna can also introduce herself.
Oh, do you see me? Can you hear me?
Nope, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, maybe share.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, yeah, it's just that you share in the screen.
So I think maybe Ola, you introduce yourself and have Anna introduce herself.
Okay,
And then you can tell us what you have for us.
okay. So, hello everyone. Glad to meet all of you once again. My name is Olha. I'm 22, almost 23 years old. Currently I study at Ukrainian Catholic University, and I'm obtaining my master's degree in media communications. And I'm willing to speak with all of you on the matter, what is really important to us Ukrainians, to our entire team today. So I hope that we would have a great and insightful conversation today.
For me, it's also an honor to be here. My name is Anna Sobolevska. I am 18 and I'm third year bachelor's degree in political science in Ukrainian Catholic University. Also, I'm doing an internship at Lviv City Council in the Office of European Youth Capital. It operates under the title that my city bears this year, and later on I will tell you more about it.
Oh, there she is. Okay, cool. Okay, well, round two. Ola, it's all you.
Thank you. I will just talk with this screen shared. Is it okay for everyone? So it's okay, Mr. Wood. Can you see
Yeah.
me?
Yes, we hear and see you just fine.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So it's I think it's rather hard and maybe concerning to start from that point, which is quite important and which is quite concerning, I think, for both sides, which is tomorrow's meeting in Alaska, the meeting of Putin and Trump. And I would love to start from the point that there can be any negotiation, any conversation, any discussion on the matter of Ukraine, and moreover, on the matter of Ukraine's future, the path of this war, and the future of our people, of our land, of the things that actually belong to us without Ukraine, without Ukraine's voice, without Ukraine's representatives, without Ukraine's stance. That is what matters. I'm not even saying that it's just disrespectful toward us. I mean, to us, it doesn't make sense because without Ukraine in the lead, you cannot actually tell or force someone to do something or something specific so that war can end in a specific and according to specific conditions. That simply doesn't work like that. And also, I want you to imagine a situation in which we take like two strong, powerful European states, being, say, like Germany and France, willing to decide the future of, say, the US or any other important, powerful player country in Europe or beyond Europe. Just saying that they want to decide something that is really important on a national level. It could be the matter of national security. I mean, just gathering at the table and saying that tonight we're deciding your like path. And I think your reaction will be just evident, as clear as ours is, because this can function that way. Absolutely. The other point is that to us, and to me personally, it seems like a spectacle, a political spectacle that Trump wants to arrange once again, because for the sake of his political image, for the sake of picture for media, for people, for, I mean, his European partners, for everyone, so that he can be, so that he can acknowledge, I mean, once again, that he's a strong leader, he's a powerful leader. He can take the lead, he can just bring Putin to Alaska and tell him, so tonight, I am deciding the fate of Ukraine. I am responsible for the fate of Ukraine. So I can take you like Putin and we can just decide how this ceasefire is going to happen. How is it going to last? But in fact, he can't, because we understand what is the language of diplomacy coming from Russia, and we as Ukrainians know how it works. We know how it worked since 2014. And we know how it worked when we were promised that something relative to ceasefire can happen since the beginning of full-scale invasion. And I will give you just one example of what happened in relatively, like, it was probably spring of 2022. It was in April, like something between 20th and 23rd April. And it was a time of very important holiday to Ukrainians, which was Easter, which is also very important, I think, to you as like for Christians, for every Christian all over the globe. And it was as that important to us. And as Russia claimed, it was that important to them too, because they're Orthodox country, they're strong Orthodox country, they cherish their past, related to religion and so on. And they claim that they won't harm anyone because like that's the duration of this important holiday. So there won't be any provocation. Like, can you believe in that? No, we can. But kind of as being like a country, I mean, somewhere in Europe or in the US, you're likely to believe in that because that's like you're living somewhere in the civilization. Like that's a holiday, that's a Christian holiday, so anyone can be harmed. But it wasn't that way in a bit. Because what was actually true for the actions of Russia was that they targeted one of the most vulnerable cities of Ukraine, which was Odessa, which is located nearly to the Black Sea Fleet, which is right now controlled and captured by Russia. So it was really easy to target that city. And they decided to bomb it exactly on that specific date where people would love to gather together, to spend time together, to bless their food, to just spend quality time with their family, because it would be just one peaceful, blissful day for them, but it wasn't. And the result of the so-called ceasefire and the promise not to harm anyone was that overnight, they erased one entire generation of people living in Odessa. So this was a residential building, and 3 people from one generation were murdered just instantly at one moment. So including grandmother, including mother, and including a 3-month-old child. So you imagine that 3-month-old child who couldn't even stand a chance to live more, to live throughout that war. So she was born, it was 3-month-old Kira. She was born like a child of war, but Russia like prevented her from living and prevented her from surviving this war. So why am I claiming this point is because that's kind of diplomacy coming from Russia, and that's what their promises mean. So we can't believe in any kind of ceasefire promise, anything related to that happening, especially without including us in this conversation. And I think Anna will continue.
Yes, I agree with you, Olia, and I would like to make a few further points. First, regarding President Trump's proposal for a territorial swap during the Alaska summit, it is unacceptable for Ukraine because it violates our territorial integrity, which is enshrined in our constitution and international law. This is a common knowledge. But speaking in human terms, this means abandoning our people in the occupied territories of Luhansk, Donetsk, and other regions who live there in fear under totalitarian regime and with their rights violated. Human rights activists note that in 2024, 1 in 5 adult residents disappeared from the occupied territories. It's 800,000 people, and the occupiers can no longer hide this catastrophe. The demographic crisis arose due to a number of factors, including mass forced mobilization, economic collapse, repression, and purges. Russia has changed the administrative and criminal codes to ban free speech for Ukrainians and lock up anyone who is against the regime. So territorial concessions do not mean peace for us. Our relatives, friends, and loved ones are there, and we cannot leave them to torture and death. Second point is about promises that Russians do not keep, words that contradict their real actions, and make negotiations with them meaningless. While Putin will be in Alaska, his military machine will be producing more and more drones, missiles, and weapons which attack Ukraine. In July, the conflict intelligence team analyzed open data on Russian ammunition production. Up to 5,000 drones per month, 3,000 missiles, and 1,500 tanks over the year. That's what they are producing. A German army report also predicts that with such military power, Putin will be able to attack NATO in 2029. And the last point, Putin sees this summit as a diplomatic victory because he achieved a personal meeting with the American president without any commitments to a ceasefire or dialogue with the Ukrainian president. But as long as Putin continues to believe that Russia has diplomatic or military superiority, he is unlikely to abandon his maximist position and begin negotiations in a good faith. Therefore, firstly, it is extremely important to put more pressure on Russia through new sanctions. Tomorrow, Putin will definitely try to convince Trump not to do so, because their economy already on the verge of complete collapse will be struggling to cope with new package of sanctions. Secondly, the decision to end the war will not be made at any summit or political conference, but only on the front lines. So supporting the Ukrainian army is the most realistic way to return peace. Thank you for attention.
Who would like to jump in next?
If there are no due questions, we could have moved forward to our presentation about life in Lviv and our university.
We're going to do that after we go through this point, which would be tomorrow's summit, and then what your thoughts are on what can be achieved, what might be achieved, what should be achieved, what shouldn't be achieved. Any thoughts that you have on what's going to happen tomorrow? And then what we want to do is we want to talk about where this event in your life, where do you go after this war, or after this summit, or after in the future? Where do you see yourself going down the road? And then we'll look at the end, we'll look at Lviv and Uku. So, and Cassandra, can you speak up a little louder? Yours isn't coming through quite loud enough. So if anybody, thanks. Anybody have anything that they want to bring to the table on this issue?
I think that I mostly share my thoughts, but there is one left. I read it from the American political scientist, and he said that there is no way that the absence and lack of progress can be regained in one conversation, so in one day. So there was nothing done before. I mean, not significant some real actions from Russian side that they towards ceasefire, and that's why I do not believe this will happen tomorrow. Maybe they will talk. The presidents will talk about the long, like the over of the war, but maybe not about ceasefire, because for Putin, a ceasefire as a catastrophe. Firstly, if you look in the inner of the Russia, how will Putin operate his military machine if in the war stops? What will he do with all of that? And secondly, if we open statistic of Russian military of internal affairs, it shows that the crime is now growing rapidly in Russia. Why? Because there are 1 million of people with their weapons in their hands. Now they are on the front lines. But if the ceasefire comes, maybe they will stand up against Putin. Maybe they will stop receiving some money, and that can provoke some social maybe protests around the Russia.
What's a best case scenario?
Please,
Maybe-
everyone,
Yeah,
silence your
please
phones.
turn your phone. What's the best case scenario in your mind? If you were to say, and I agree with what you said, Anna, I don't see this as a justifiable event, particularly after we had our discussion on Alaska, that it's even happening on American soil. But what could you see? What in your mind at the end of it tomorrow? What would it take for you to say, okay, that was good?
I don't even see a scenario. How can it go? How good can it go that I can be like, okay, that was good? Unless by the end of their meeting, they would agree to do three-way meeting, including our side. That's the only way possible for me to be satisfied with the upcoming meeting.
And I would also add that maybe if President Trump would be so unsatisfied with that meeting, and after the meeting he'll understand that it doesn't work. It's hard to talk about something with Russian side, and he'll start doing actions to support Ukraine because, again, I think that Putin, even after that meeting, Putin won't agree to meet with President Zelensky.
I completely agree with everything that girl said. So the thing is that there are the perception of the situation the way we would like it to be. So of course all Ukrainians would like this meeting to end in one way. However, we all understand that it won't happen the way we would love it to be. And it won't be the way we see it, because it's impossible to achieve something without Ukraine on the table. It's the first thing. So I'm more than sure that during the meeting they will be discussing some instruments, how to force Ukraine to give the territories to stop the fighting, and to use a rhetoric of thousands of lives that we can lose if we don't do that. However, as I told before during the previous session, we are fighting for our future, for our people, and for our identity. And having negotiations without Ukraine, discussing how to force Ukraine to give the territories, it's complete nonsense. And that's why I'm not sure that there is a way for us to be satisfied after this meeting. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry for jumping in once again, but I just wanted to add that it was actually my initial point that there can be any negotiation without Ukraine's voice being represented, because you're deciding the matter of Ukraine. So the future of our world, the future of what's happening to us. And I mean, if you're deciding it in a group, within a group of Russia and the US, then you're agreeing on a condition of Russia and the US and not Ukraine's condition. And their conditions are dreadful indeed. And we have our strategic interest in our situation. And I mean, one of them being that that is clear to us, but not clear to, for instance, not so clear perhaps to the US, and absolutely not clear to Russia, that we want to bring back our people, our prisoners of war, or kids. Like 20,000 Ukraine's kids were abducted by Russia since the beginning of this onslaught, and we still can't have them in Ukraine. So there definitely should be many conditions, but conditions accepted by Ukraine's side, not by the side of, I mean, Russia or the US. So yeah, that's the only way.
Ola and the other ladies, President Trump hasn't met face to face with Putin for quite some time, and he knows that he's receiving a great deal of criticism for not having Ukraine represented in this meeting. How would you feel about getting past this one? He said he'll know in the first 2 minutes whether or not anything positive can come out of it. But how would you feel about stage 2, the next step, including President Zelensky?
I mean, the only thing that at that moment has to change is Russia's rhetorics, which haven't been changed since 2014, 2022. They want occupation no matter what, no matter their sacrifices or people's lives. So even after phone calls, which both presidents had, Putin and Trump, they didn't come to consensus, since Putin still pushing the thing that Ukraine will be occupied no matter what. So even I hope that meeting with our president, including, will happen, and it'll be big progress for us on that side. But I don't really think that something can change unless Putin change his rhetorics, which doesn't seem to be nowhere near.
Is there anything, I mean, you're pretty clear on where you stand. You're pretty clear on what you think. Is there anything that gives you, that's happening in this whole scenario? Europe, United States, the war itself, the resistance, that gives you pause for optimism? Is there anything that's happening that you say, okay, that at least is moving in a possible positive direction? Anything?
We've been fed with promises for years, from European government, from American government, including our government, and we hear that peace is like this close for past 6 months, and I haven't seen a single step where how it can be achieved. Maybe someone else has different opinion, girls.
I can say about two positive moments in US-Ukraine relations. And the first is that last week US agreed to provide Ukraine with security assistance, which was over $200 millions. And the funding will be provided by our partner countries, but still it's a very great help because the first package of the aid consists of some equipment and technical support for military equipment, and the second package will consist also help with transport and logistic services. And the second point is the work of US Senate, even though now it's on the recess, but before that, I think Republican and Democrats senators gathered to create draft a bill imposing sanctions against Russia. It even gained support from our president. In details, it's about restrictions against Russian officials and foreign citizens, including oligarchs who trade or cooperate with armed forces of Russian Federation. So anyone who is supplying weapons and technology, who is involved in the destruction of infrastructure and cyber attacks against Ukraine. The bill received previously 85 votes in the Senate. So I think if this bill will be like totally voted, all members, and it will be accepted, I think it will be a great victory for all of us.
Great job on your homework. You're right, that bill, and I don't know if you guys know, but there is a bipartisan bill in the Senate right now with 83 co-sponsors. In the US Senate, 83 co-sponsors, are you kidding me? God, the Senate doesn't do anything bipartisan that is ready to just level, I mean level Ukraine with level Russia with all sorts of what do I want to say? Sanctions, yeah, huge sanctions, but they're waiting on the approval for President Trump. So if Trump doesn't give the green light, then the Senate bill doesn't go through, but the Senate bill is ready. And with that kind of power, which should make you guys a little bit optimistic that there still is a ton of support for you in this country. Even in politics, there is. And so Trump has to be willing to pull the lever on it. And the lever is ready to pull. And well done, Anna, on your homework. Good job.
I have a question.
I have a comment.
As Mr. Wood was saying, we all believe, I think, that most of America supports Ukraine's efforts. But it's also fairly clear that the current administration is a little less enthusiastic than many of the American people. I'm wondering whether it would be a comfort or a source of great support for you folks if you got the full support of Europe in terms of them endorsing not only European Union membership, but also NATO membership. And would that not be a deterrent to Putin?
The thing is that to get something in these negotiations and to stop the war, unfortunately, we should give something up. And Putin and Russia, they don't want us to be in EU and NATO. So that's one of their main conditions, to not let us do that. And this is a point that, unfortunately, I'm more than sure that for the next 10 plus years, we won't be able to do that. We won't be able to be part of NATO. And talking about some positive moments, I would love to support some things that Cassandra mentioned before, that people are losing the hope, you know, when people who came through that, who understand how everything happened. So we live in that, and we came through everything that happened. We know how it happened. We know who is the victim, and we know who we should blame for everything that happened. And when we hear the phrase, let's do negotiations without Ukraine and decide their next fate, we just, I don't know, people are just in shock. So I'm more than sure that I won't be able to go back home, because to achieve something, to get this peace, we will be forced to give our territories, but like to give them away. So I'm more than sure that in my life I won't be able to go back home just because Russia occupied my hometown and they don't want us to be there. So this is the point that people are losing hope, and we are fighting. We don't have any other choice. So we will be fighting. But the thing is that we will be forced to give something up.
Go
How
ahead,
can
Ola has a
justice
comment.
be met if you don't allow the team that's involved be present? There can't be any justice. It's like a playground. Two kids are fighting over one of the boys' toy, and someone comes from the outside and tells the owner of the toy, we'll settle. And so they make the decision without involving him. It's the same kind of basic justice. It just does not make sense.
Ola, you had a comment?
Yeah, I had a comment to the previous discussion. So Masha's point led me to that. So there was the question like what could bring maybe positive change, or what could be the ultimate good outcome of the whole negotiation thing. Of course, I mean, including Ukraine, including the US, and including all the countries that could be involved in this whole conversation. So the ultimate good and maybe positive change would be something that our president and our country stresses, I mean, way too much, and it's like way too clear, which is security guarantees. We don't have these right now. So as Masha said, that highlighted that we can't enter NATO, we can enter the EU right now. So we can be guaranteed that when war ends, so ends as someone can like write it on paper or on a piece of document or something like that, we can be assured that Russia won't attack us like once again, won't bomb us, and everything like that. So there's no guarantee right now. And the most, I mean, maybe pessimistic part of that is that we can be granted that we have those guarantees right now. So that may be something that frustrates us in all of that. And if there is a sign that those security guarantees measures could be granted, could be embraced by some countries, then it would be something positive, something relative to like a positive change, I think.
Ola, can you go further with that and explain to people? I don't know if you all know about the Budapest Accords, but the Budapest Accords are key to this. Was it 1994? It was in that time period. They didn't have security guarantees. And these were huge. And this is why Ukraine has to have them. Can you explain to us what the Budapest Accords were?
Yeah, for sure. But maybe also Yorina raised her hand. So did you want to go ahead?
I just wanted to comment like the last comment that we heard from like people, but I think you can go on with that and then I'll continue.
Okay, so really briefly, so it was a sign to Ukraine and to Georgia that Russia, like Russia or any other country, won't organize a military attack onslaught against us if we give up our
Nuclear.
nuclear weapon. Yeah, nuclear weapon. So we gave up our nuclear weapon. We gave up on it. And as you see, the result is like crystal clear. It's pretty much the same. Nothing worked. So we felt betrayed. We felt deceived. Not only us, but like Georgia, who was attacked in 2008, who shares our pain and who understands our struggles. So beside the fact that there could be some kind of formal guarantees of maintaining peace and maintaining stability in the region, actually there isn't something like that, because there was a promise, and the promise was turned apart, with one simple move, which was aggression against Ukraine in 2014. Thank you for bringing that point.
It was agreed upon by the United States, the UK, and Russia. And without security guarantees, you're going to have the same thing again. And this is why Ukrainians are not going to trust anything that doesn't come out with ironclad security guarantees, because then they will just be handing over their country and opening the door. Thank you for explaining it. Hold on.
It seems to me that maybe the situation that we're going to be looking at tomorrow in Alaska could be, if you look back at the end of World War II in 1945, and can you imagine Germany say, well, you know, the war didn't go so well for us as we expected, but we really like France, and we'd like to keep part of France and not return it back to the French. So the world would be outraged at something like that. And on the other hand, we did tell Germany, okay, you're going to be split into two countries, East and West Germany, and against their desire and will, and those kind of things. So I think it's all goes down to who has won the war. And in this case, it's a stalemate at this point. So it's hard. I agree. You guys need lots of guarantees.
And talking about negotiations and the meeting we're going to have tomorrow, looking back to everything that Russia did to Ukraine, to Georgia, how they were breaking international contracts and agreements that they had, how can we hope for agreeing something with them if everything that they do is just breaking all the international agreements and conflicts, and not talking about the thing that they are not talking about violation of human rights on occupied territories, everything that they did with Ukrainian citizens, with Georgian citizens. How can we be sure that we can achieve something positive with our neighbors who do something like that in 21st century? So I'm not sure that tomorrow's meeting can achieve some positive results for Ukraine. And I'm not sure that we can actually trust those people and trust the government of the country who is near us.
I agree. And you also asked about how Ukrainians now see the end of the war. What scenario will be acceptable for us? And I want to present you a survey conducted in Kyiv recently, where respondents were introduced to three scenarios. First, included security guarantees from Europe, but without US involvement, recognition of Crimea as Russian, preservation of Russian control over the occupied territories, Ukraine's movement towards the EU, and complete lifting of the Western sanctions against Russia. This was unacceptable to 49% of respondents. The second scenario included a significant reduction in the Ukrainian army, rejection of the NATO membership, transfer of all territories of Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions under Russian control, Ukraine's official recognition of the loss of occupied territories, and lifting all sanctions against Russia. This was rejected by 76% of respondents. And the third scenario, it showed the highest positive indicator, security guarantees from Europe and the US, non-recognition of Russian sovereignty over the occupied territories, Ukraine's course toward the EU, gradual easing of sanctions after peace is established. 54% of Ukrainians are ready to approve this scenario. As you can see, it's important for us that the US participates in the peace agreement, but as we mentioned, we also should be leading this one. And this can be supported by a next little poll conducted by the American Gallup Institute on July this year that showed that 69% of Ukrainians are in favor of ending the war as soon as possible through negotiations, while 24% of respondents are in favor of continuing the war until victory. The poll pretty results are pretty related to the fact that support from Washington, our most important military ally, has become less stable now. But Ukrainians, that is important point, mostly are skeptical about a quick end to active hostilities and of the combat actions. So if negotiations under pressure from Russia will have negative consequences for the lives of our people, we'll definitely not withdraw our troops from the certain territories as Russia demands. Our army is standing its ground and will not lay down its arms.
So Anna, you've mentioned repeatedly sanctions against Russia being a powerful economic tool, and that seems to be the only thing that would get President Putin's attention, because without that, we're just going around in circles, and we're getting nowhere. So is that your? Do the rest of you see that as necessary leverage in order to achieve any gains with President Putin?
Personally, I think that's one of the main tools to how to deal with President Putin. I mean, I wouldn't say that it looks like Russian people or Russian government reacted too much onto previous sanctions, even though economic says the opposite thing. So I think if we, from the start, I mean, European Union and civilized democratic society, other countries pressured them and put the sanctions early on, the game could go differently.
Any others of you want to weigh in on the topic of sanctions?
I feel that sanctions are really useful and vital as an instrument of pressure and as an instrument of demonstrating the support to Ukraine. However, if we're talking about practical part, we can see that Russia had all of the sanctions from the very beginning of 2022 when they just started full-scale invasion. However, their economy can still operate. Everything is it's not okay. However, they can still survive as a country, and sanctions are good as a sign of support. However, as a practical instrument, we need something more vital, I guess.
When so much revenue is coming to Russia from the sale of oil, and in the last day or two, there's been much more mention of India and sales to India, and President Trump wanting to put sanctions on countries that are dealing with India and allowing that to continue, because that continues to enrich Russia, which gets revenue that they need so desperately to continue the war.
So as we can see, Russia found some solutions in some ways how to keep their economy stable. And this is the point. So they have they have some sanctions from other countries. However, it's not the instrument that actually works. So they found the ways how to manage everything. And you still can see that, okay, they have this money for continuing the war. So sanctions, as I told before, it works as an instrument of support, of showing that, okay, we support Ukraine, but practically we can see that Russia's economy still works, it still operates. So that's why talking about India and revenue and money to Russia, we can see that they have this money to continue the war. So probably we should try something different, and we should try some different ways of communicating and of trying to solve the situation. Just because it doesn't work the way we would like it to work, and this is the whole point, because there is a situation that we want it to be in one way. However, what actually happens is that Russia still operates as political actor, and other countries are still trying to build dialogue with them. However, I'm not sure that it's sensible to build dialogue with country who breaks international agreements and everything. So this is what's going on.
Go ahead, Ola.
Yeah, I also think that there's an issue with giving them floor and giving them voice. I mean, like a public representation. So starting with the example of Putin sitting at the table with Trump, because somehow any other like European leader wouldn't love to kind of arrange this kind of meeting. To the point that their kind of movie products, not even neutral movie products, but movie products concerning their like military perspective, and their military perspective is raping, murdering, erasing, torturing, terrorizing Ukrainian people. So with this perspective and with this kind of, product, they can just get even award. They can get awarded, so they can be given the floor. And I think in this matter, this makes people forget that the war is actually happening, that there is an actual conflict, there is an actual opposition. So there's Russia as an aggressor, and there's Ukraine as a victim of this aggression. And so there's this another matter. So we can talk about sanctions, we can talk about like economic pressure, any kind of other pressure, but this public presence is really important, because it is a sign that they exist as like part that is important to us. They exist like the US, like Ukraine, like any other country, and we acknowledge them. And we should not. We should not. Because for very obvious reasons. Thank you.
Ola, this may be a good time to introduce some new information that hasn't been mentioned yet today. Just last week, an article appeared in the Wall Street Journal saying U.S. arms Kiev via Europe. So there's some positive developments there in terms of arms. 4 European countries are buying U.S. military equipment, valued at roughly $1 billion for delivery to Ukraine. And the Netherlands last Monday agreed to the first $500 million purchase, and a consortium of Denmark, Sweden, and Norway on Tuesday agreed to a similar purchase. And in addition to that, as part of the effort to arm Ukraine, the U.S. struck an agreement with Berlin under which Germany would send additional Patriot air defense systems to Kiev. In exchange, Germany would be the first to receive the newest Patriot systems off the U.S. production line at an accelerated pace. So there is movement, and there's still some arms flowing, even as dollars that were allocated and appropriated under the Biden administration. Some of that is still flowing. So, Ola, you're absolutely correct. There's, regardless of what negotiations are occurring, there's still a war going on, and people are being killed. But at least there's some solace in knowing that that there's some flow of arms into Ukraine from European nations.
Yeah, thank you. That's absolutely very important. And arming Ukraine is one of the way how we can actually defeat Russia and Russian terrorism, not even within a perspective of Ukraine, but the whole world, because it's not only Ukraine who could be the victim. I think we all know that, who could be the target, potential target. I'm sorry, if anyone wants to add anything, can we maybe move to the presentation, because we also prepared some information, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you.
Bob is working out, coordinating some details to make sure that can happen.
Can you see our presentation?
Yeah.
See it now.
Good. So you're going to talk about Lviv now, and then I will send, Masha, I will send you a link to the assignment that you guys did for me that was like your little, I don't know, your UCU travel log. So yeah, good. Just lighten things up a little bit here, okay? So we're going to talk about Lviv, and we're going to talk about UCU, Ukrainian Catholic University, and we might even talk about Strisky Park a little bit. How's that sound? Yay? Good. Okay.
Sorry, once again, I'll fix the, the sharing part. It just kind of went away. Yeah, 1 second. It's here. Yeah, so we wanted to narrate kind of maybe a short story of how we've managed to stay resilient even during the wartime. What are some of the key values? What are some of the implications that you can get? What are some of the insights? And one of the most important strategy to us on a national and on a regional level of Lviv is to put great effort into reintegrating the military and enhancing ways of rehabilitation. And because of that, we're creating new rehabilitation centers working with, adopting new approaches in treating and bringing back soldiers, working with their physical and psychological trauma. So these are barrier-free, new barrier-free infrastructures adapted specifically to the needs of the military with disabilities, because we have many, dozens of military with disabilities. And if I'm not mistaken, I was fact-checking this stat, it was 50,000 military with disabilities, also including some civilians. So there's this gap that we need to fill. So one of the examples of this rehabilitation center is Superhumans, which is located not so far from Lviv. And this kind of rehabilitation center grants people all inclusive, barrier-free area, so access to the green zone. It is all adapted to everything that they could possibly need. They get treatment here. They get psychologically stable here. They have access to everything, and most modernized medical stuff here too. Also, it's even more than just a medical environment. It is this sort of environment that becomes home to them. So it is not a rehabilitation facility which could evoke distrust or fear or something like that. And instead, it just brings peace, it brings hope, it brings good memories, and it brings people who are sharing the same trauma like yours. So people are mentoring each other. They're not divided. They're all training together. They're all persuaded and encouraged by the teams of psychologists and medical stuff and that. And in these conditions, they kind of promote post-traumatic growth happening among the patients of such facilities. And I also want to share the story of one girl who is next patient of this facility, Superhuman Center, very great rehabilitation center. And right now she's working as an expert in this very center as a mentor for people coming there and getting treatment there. So this is young Ruslana. Right now she's like 22, if I'm not mistaken. So she joined the Ukraine's armed forces when she was just 18. Imagine, just 18. And unfortunately, during her work, she lost her leg working on her son's, working in Kherson, which is a southern city in Ukraine. And she used to be a patient of the Superhuman Center. And as you know, and as you see, she lost one of her limbs, but definitely not a single bit of her hope, her spark and inner light, because she began to transmit her life, to tell her story, and with people who shared same trauma. She was mentoring these people, she was helping them overcome trauma-related difficulties, and she was working on actually persuading them that life goes on, it's okay, you can live with this like kind of prosthetics or with amputation and everything like that. It can be okay, you can have a will to live, and you can find new meaning of life. And we will continue with the other example of a strong, powerful rehabilitation center operating also in Lviv.
Yes, Olha, I want to ask you to make a full screen of presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to do that, but it just slipped and it stopped sharing somehow. Maybe I
That's
can.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So yeah, the next example is the National Rehabilitation Center Unbroken. It's actually a unique place where adults and children affected by the war receive comprehensive medical care. And since the beginning of full-scale invasion, more than 16,000 Ukrainians have been treated there, including children, and also foreigner citizens came to us. I'll ask to move to the next slide and to our next block. The topic, how use sparks positive changes on a regional and national level. We receive often a question from you, what gives us hope now? And this slide is use. It's energy, ideas, and movement. That's why this week we celebrate Youth Day. I was happy to volunteer on the event, which brought together more than 10,000 people. All of our guests were invited to donate, and the sum we gathered was almost 500,000 hryvnias for the vent of our sky. This holiday embraced many Ukrainian traditions, historic, cultural, and religious. And on the next slide, you will see one of the most important parts of the event. It was a youth liturgy. Oля, please, can you? Yes. It united hundreds of young people who then joined a discussion with the bishop on the topic of living fully in an age of uncertainty, about importance of faith and strengths of our spirit. Next, please. Celebration also included an award ceremony, Brave. It was established in 2024 to recognize and thank young people on the front lines in the civilian rear and volunteers. These are young people who, despite everything, are changing our country for the better. Among them, Nazar Pavlyuk, a veteran and an actor, a director, and Daria Shalova, head of the educational community. Also, on the next slide, in the volunteering category, the award went to the Haspo Foundation team, which encourages foreigners to support the armed forces of Ukraine. Magazines such as The Wall Street, NBC, and Wired have wrote about them. And on the next slide, as I represent the Office of European Youth Capital, I can say that young people usually address us with the and ask about international opportunities for them. So we welcome foreigners in Lviv. I would like to introduce you to a couple from the United States, not very originally, because Irina was born in Ukrainian Crimea and Richard in Minnesota. They met on the internet and Richard proposed to his beloved on the New Year's Eve 23 years ago. From that time, they united and together began actively participating in community. The first man founded the NGO Global Synergy Group to support Ukraine in 2012 and a leadership program ULIP for Ukrainian youth in the United States during summer. I know dozens of peers who have already studied in the US, and I'm really glad that this helps us, both nations, to further develop our cultural links.
So I'll be the speaker now. Even during the times of challenge and crisis, our values are being tested, and we prove that they matter to us as much as ever. So the protests in Lviv are a clear example that despite the ongoing war, people took the streets to peacefully defend independence of anti-corruption institutions, showing that civic participation remains a core part of Ukrainian democracy. So this July, including me, mostly young people, joined national protest against a bill that would place NABU, which is the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, and SAPO, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, under direct state control, which would limit their independence, and which means that without independence, these bodies could not could be influenced by political leaders, making it harder to investigate top officials and reducing public trust in their work. So these independent bodies are the key to fight high-level corruption, as I said, and vital for Ukrainians' democratic reforms and EU aspirations. And the protests itself were peaceful, and public pressure worked as by the end of July, our parliament restored their independence. And it's a proof that during the wartime, Ukrainians stand up for democratic values and make changes happen.
And the last thing that we are going to talk about in this presentation is why our university is resilient and how education is becoming an important tool in countering Russian aggression. So the motto of our university is to witness, to serve, and to communicate. So witness is about to share experience, beliefs, and knowledge with others. Not only inside the university, but also outside, serving as an example to follow. Serve is about to be ready to help others and to work for the good of society, and communicate is to emphasize the importance of dialogue, openness to different perspectives, and the ability to build healthy relationship with others. And based on this three values, Ukrainian Catholic University builds its own, I would say, small society. And as it was said by the Bishop Svetoslav, UKU is not just another educational institution among the ranks of universities. It is the core of transformation and the strength of the Ukrainian nations. On the next slide, we'll see different photos about the volunteering in our university. So actually, we have a lot of, I would say, numerous student organizations, and they have different themes that they are working with. It can be from something connected with culture or politics, to social projects, and it is all based on the volunteering willingness, students doing that because they want, because they feel that importance of being active. And on the photo were students wearing vyshyvankas, it's Ukrainian traditional clothes. It's a group of students from student organization, which is called Bratstvo. In translation, it's fraternity. So every year, this organization organize a Christmas Together and Easter Together project, which is has a goal to, like, for example, for Christmas, prepare carols and go to another city and having Christmas and carols with those who were left alone, are not able to meet their parents or their family, and to give them that feeling of holiday, even if they are lonely. Mostly they were visiting eastern cities previously, but now after full-scale invasion started, a lot of that cities were occupied. Some of them now are deoccupied, but we are still trying to go to different cities far from Lviv. And what I want to say, like in conclusion, that different institutions like Ukrainian Catholic University and other universities, also non-governmental organizations, creating a big net of volunteering in Ukraine, which helps people like to make it like their lifestyle, not only like part of their, I don't know, something that they do once a month. It's really lifestyle, and we can prove that with World Giving Index, that from Ukraine moved, like on 2022, Ukraine was in the 10th place, and in 2023 we moved on a second place, and its index that measures the amount of donations, the willingness to help others, and the time of volunteering that people spend, count it all together for all the countries in the world, and preparing that top 10 countries that take like the most active volunteering process in their countries. So because of full-scale invasion or not, Ukraine took the second place, and that is what giving us I would say hope to stay together and understand that everybody can do something important. That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And as a tribute to you, five young ladies, and for the benefit of our audience, you are here and part of this this presentation because you are Mr. Wood's very best students. You're all A students, so that's why you're included. Would you all be kind enough to share your future educational plans and career plans with us?
Okay, I can start.
Go ahead.
And so for the future, I would love to work in non-government international organizations, and I plan to get my master's somewhere abroad. I'm thinking about Europe or the United States. However, then I plan to go back to Ukraine because I really feel that this is my responsibility to stay in this country, to get some knowledge, and then to gain some experience, and then implement everything that I would get into rebuilding of my country and my nation. So yeah, I would love to work somewhere in the sphere of international relations, non-government organization. So this is what I'm thinking about. Some period of time ago, I wanted to be a journalist. And what I'm thinking about is that a lot of international organizations, they provide some career opportunities in the sphere of communication, and this can be my field. So this is what I'm thinking about.
And Masha, please share, after you were in, she got a scholarship to be at the Citadel last spring. And in the fall, where are you going to school?
Yeah, so last semester I spent in the United States in the Citadel, and for the next semester I'm going to study in Milan. So I'm going to continue study political science, but yeah, in Italy for this semester.
And you're thinking about applying for a program in Canada.
Yeah, so I think girls may heard about it. So it's a program that is sponsored by probably Canada's Department of State, and it's for people who would love to do some researches in Canada's universities. So I guess that girls heard about it. They provide all the financing, and they have a lot of different projects, research topics. So I'm thinking about that, about applying to this thing to gain some experience, work in this field, in the field of researching, and get the knowledge and implement it back to Ukraine.
Who would like to be next?
Okay, since no one is taking.
Anna?
Oh, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. The next semester I will study on the virtual course at the George Washington University. It's called International Crisis Management. I think I will improve my knowledge of international relations and diplomacy. And in the future, just use this knowledge to work maybe in foreign affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs in my country. Also now I'm on the mentoring program by Alexandra Matvichuk, a Nobel Prize winner, and she's defender for human rights. And also we study again international diplomacy, so I'm trying to gain knowledge from different practitioners in this field.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't like questions about the future because I'm lost as a student. Well, I don't think I mentioned that today. I used to study sociology at UCU, and now currently I'm studying at another Lviv university, studying journalism, and I'm about to start my last year. I was supposed to graduate last year as well, so I don't plan on after my education to take to pursue my studies with masters just yet. I'm writing for a local newspaper, so I plan to focus on that and plan to develop regional newspapers. Yeah, so no, I don't have big plans. I just want to finish university and then I'll see how it goes.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, I think that I'll go on. I don't know what's about the plans of my future because I have a lot of ideas and it's hard to choose the only one. I understand that it's mine because I still don't know who I want to become when I become an adult. So yeah, I'm studying sociology, but sociology is really like I would say a discipline that gives you a lot of opportunities after finishing the university, and you can go in different fields. But the thing that I know for sure is that I want, like, I want more people to know the difference between Ukraine and Russia, because I had a lot of international experience last half of the year, and the amount of people that started talking to me like in Russian and asking that it is Ukrainian, right? I was like, no, it's a mistake. And it's actually sad that people do not understand the difference between our countries, and I can understand why, but still, I think that I would plan my future based on advocacy about Ukraine, about like Russian crimes in Ukraine, and maybe after that I'll think about master's degree connected with not politics, but probably something connected with like embassy, international law, and something like that.
By the way, just some information for you, Yana. The Johns Hopkins Center for International Studies in Bologna, Italy, trains European diplomats and at the master's degree level. So that's something you might want to consider.
Okay, thank you so much. It's actually important information.
Who haven't we heard from? Ola?
Yeah, it's me, so maybe my turn. I had a lot of time to think about what I think about my future. Actually, I wouldn't also say that I have a particular precise plan because my first thought is that I can't plan my future for a very obvious reason, because I want to stay in Ukraine. That's a definite plan. I want to be in Ukraine. Yeah, I want to gain international experience, which I actually do, but not, I mean, it doesn't mean that I want to leave, that I want to reintegrate into other countries, stuff like that. No, I want to contribute to post-war recovery strongly with my heart here. And I hope that I put some of the effort to realize that now. So right now it's like maybe half, it's one semester until I finish my master's. So I want to finish my master's, and one of the big plan is to continue working on my master's topic, which is post-traumatic growth of the military with disabilities. Maybe you notice how I kind of put the effort into putting this topic on highlight during our presentation. So yeah, that's actually the topic that I'm really interested in, and I would love to work in that sphere, perhaps. Yeah, and advocacy in terms of advocating for Ukraine also like interests me, as it has interested me since the full-scale invasion. So I think both of these fields and maybe like directions would work. But right now I'm kind of in the middle of communications. So yeah, communications is a diverse and creative sphere. So yeah, right now I could still be in thought. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, as we are getting near the end, do we have questions? And Bob, do you have some things additional things to cover? 6 minutes.
6 minutes are always best left with questions. So this is all about you guys. So fire away.
Thank you. Hi, girls. I want to follow up on Irina's comments about not understanding why people can confuse Russia with Ukraine. And I'm Ukrainian. My mom was born in Lviv. I still have family in Ukraine, an aunt in Ternopil. And so this presentation and the sessions I've attended with you have been deeply moving, and I really appreciate that. I truly do in my heart. As far as confusing Russia and Ukraine, I think it stems from the Soviet Union time. And I've heard, and I still hear occasionally, Ukraine being referred to as the Ukraine. And every time I hear this, I correct them. It is not the Ukraine as if it belonged to some other country or is a part of something else. Ukraine is an independent sovereign country. And I remind them about this thing. So that it could be that perception that people still have that caused them to confuse Ukraine and Russia as being one thing. I'm really saddened about that. Another thought I had is whether you have any intelligence or knowledge, not that it matters, about how the people in Russia feel about their country's aggression in Ukraine. Not that it matters, but I thought if there's any any intelligence that comes out of Russia that says that the Russian people are really tired of this, and their sons and daughters are being killed too.
Yeah, thank you.
Many of I will like comment and answer. People in Russia, maybe families who lost a member of their families, receive a big money refund from the state, and that is what we know, that in the priority of ladder of values, some Russians prioritize money over the some relatives or just family and so on. That's why what people are struggling with in Russia is inflation and high prices on products or absence of some products because of sanctions. And that is what worry Putin, that people could up against his war in Ukraine, only the economic collapse.
Yeah, my question first, thank you, ladies. You're an inspiration to us all here. But I want to compliment you on your English. It's all excellent. And we couldn't have that unless you guys had gone through that process of learning English. So I'd like a little, is that just part of the educational system in Ukraine to learn English or a foreign language?
Yeah, we have actually English classes at school. Some of them starts from the like first year of studying at school. Some schools have it from the 5th year, but mostly like it is so important now for Ukrainians to know English, and we also have it in the university. Some of classes are specialized on different like programs. Depends. For example, for sociologists, we have a sociology English, and also it is so, I would say, popular to have a tutor if you want to have like to know English well. And we also have final exams after school, and one of that exam is English.
I'd like to suggest a correction. 3 times today, we've referred to our guests as either girls or ladies. Everybody's over 18 that we're speaking with, and they are women, please, not girls.
I've got just a few minutes. I have 2 points. One, for those of you continuing your education, Rotary International. I don't know if you have Rotary clubs in Ukraine, but Rotary International has 50 to 60 scholarships every year for international students around the world to study peace and conflict resolution for 2 years, and all of your expenses are covered. So put that down as a potential place to continue your education. The other one is, and I probably will cry because I saw it here in Holland, Michigan. We have billboards along the highway. And when the war was brought to our attention, a billboard with your flag and a sunflower on it was everywhere. And it said nothing, but we were with you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support, and it actually means a lot to all of us.
Cool.
Does anyone have any closing comments? Well, young ladies, someone else had already said it, but you give us hope and inspiration because of your grit, because of your spirit. It's been wonderful to interact with you. So we are so delighted and so indebted to you for sharing your information.
And I would like to say, you guys give me hope, because it's going to take active citizenship in the United States and a relentlessness to be involved in things that matter, things like this, things like these girls that are going to make our country be what it can be. And so don't give up, keep pushing, keep coming to these things, keep asking these guys questions. You guys keep talking to these guys,
Right.
and together we're gonna fix this freaking world.
We will have a follow-up class in the fall with these students. Oh, very, very much.
Thank you so much for standing shoulder by shoulder with us, fighting for democracy, freedom, and human rights.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the platform and floor to speak.
What was